Hi, I'm John. Welcome to the Jigsaw Puzzler. Today's puzzle is this puzzle from Anatolian. It's a 1,000 piece puzzle called Ayasofia. It is a beautiful graphic design by Turkish artist Yasin Yaman, and it is part of a series of designs that look similar to this of various areas of the city of Istanbul, plus Cappadocia, and I think this designer has also done images of major cities from other parts of the world as well. But there's a series of these of views of various parts, particularly historic parts of Istanbul. Anatolian is a Turkish jigsaw puzzle manufacturer. I have one other Anatolian puzzle, which I did as part of a speed puzzling competition, so I've never really had a lot to do with them before. So this is basically a review of a moderately well-known brand, which almost sight unseen. All right, inside the box, Anatolian supply one of these. It's a little cardboard stand that allows you to prop up your puzzle lid so that you can see it at the edge of your table, wherever you're putting it, so that you don't have to keep picking your puzzle lid up. It's a little bit wobbly as a stand and would probably be far more stable with a landscape puzzle than a portrait one. This is obviously a portrait image, so it did fall over a couple of times as I was using it, but nevertheless a useful little inclusion in the puzzle. All right, so this puzzle, Anatolian puzzles, the puzzle pieces are quite thick. It's very high quality. I can pick that up without any problem at all. I could pick up and move whole sections of this around. As you'll see, if you watch the time lapse, you'll see that when I got to certain parts, I did them all down the front here and then just picked them up and moved them to where they belonged. So it's a very high quality manufactured puzzle. The image is sharp and clear, so no problems there. The one downside with this is though that the surface is quite shiny. I've got a couple of lights here, and the further away the pieces were from me, the harder it was to actually see the detail of what was on them, let alone whether the pieces fit together neatly or not. False fits, maybe one or two, not really a problem at all with Anatolian. There is a variety of piece shapes and they fit together very snugly indeed. Not too tight though, but they do. You can tell when the piece is in the right place, and you can definitely tell when it's in the wrong place because it really doesn't fit very well at all. So 1,000 pieces, normal sort of piece size, and very, very high quality. I would say that a puzzle like this is even up there with the likes of Ravensburger or Clementoni for the quality of the pieces, and certainly the quality of the image. Anatolian do a whole range of images. A lot of them are sort of artistic designs rather than photographs. Some of them look kind of airbrushed or that style of thing. Yeah, so not so many photographs as many other puzzle makers do. That being said, this was a brilliant puzzle to do. I really, really enjoyed this one. What inspired me to get this puzzle was that we took ourselves off on a trip to Turkey earlier in the year, in January. We spent 2 weeks in Turkey and had a marvellous time there. And of course, we spent many days exploring the sights of Istanbul, including some of the places that are on this puzzle and the other puzzles in this series. So having a bit of a Turkish themed moment, we went into a bookshop down in the Karakoy district. It's on a public wharf, upstairs in a wharf, and we walked into this bookshop and had a bit of a look around, and there in the window on one side was a whole series of Anatolian jigsaw puzzles, and one of the others in this series called Galata was in the window, and I looked at it and I thought, oh, that's beautiful. So I kept a note of it, and when I came home I looked at it and the others in the series and decided instead to buy this one, which is one of the darker images, the darker coloured images, nighttime sort of perhaps, or twilight, whereas the Galata one is obviously in the daytime, much brighter sky, brighter colours. Maybe one day down the track I'll get some of the other ones in the series as well. But I just saw their puzzles and I thought, oh, I'd really like to try those. They're very nice images, look to be good quality, and I'm not at all disappointed by them. So in the bookshop, saw these, and that was my inspiration for getting this particular puzzle. I have a particular love also of history. I like Byzantine history. I've read quite a bit about the history of the Byzantine Empire, and obviously the fall of Constantinople in 1453, where this particular building became a mosque. It is the Ayasofia, the Hagia Sophia in Greek, the Ayasofia in Turkish. It is one of the premier churches in the world, built in the 300s, twice destroyed by fire. The current building, the original current building was built, the current building was built in the 500s, about 537, and added to, obviously, many accretions over the subsequent centuries. But so a 1,000-year-old church by the time the Mehmed the Conqueror finally took the city of Constantinople. So it's a Byzantine church that has been reused as a mosque. Was a museum for about 80 years or so, and then more recently turned back into a mosque. Situated on a hill in the Sultanahmet district of Istanbul. It's one of those buildings that commands the skyline as you look out over the city. Facing it, there's a large public square in front of it, and facing it is the magnificent Blue Mosque, or Sultanahmet Mosque. And so the two of them together, these enormous dome structures facing each other, but also creating part of the very unique skyline that Istanbul has. The building, was the largest, when it was complete, it was the largest single enclosed space, man-made enclosed space in history for centuries. It took a long time for any other building to have quite the volume that this one did. It was like the Vatican is to the Western Empire, the Western Christendom. This was the main church for the Roman Empire before it's sort of across both, really, and then it split and became the main church for the Eastern Roman Empire, which then became the Byzantine Empire. So it was a really, really significant building. And it's just a beautiful shape, beautiful uses of shapes, the forms, the domes, the half domes, the buttresses that hold this thing up. After the Muslim conquest in 1453, various other bits were added to it. Some of the buttresses were added to support the main building because, well, basically it would have collapsed by now if it hadn't been buttressed, and many, many other bits around the building, including obviously the minarets, were added over the centuries to have this multi-layered, this enormous multi-layered, multi-faith structure that there is today, and it is just simply a glorious place to visit. I had the privilege of visiting it on our trip in January. It's low season for tourists at that time of year, so we purchased our tickets. We were very close to the front of the line. There was hardly anybody inside where the tourists are permitted to go. Obviously, a lot of prayers had just ended, so the mosque part of it on the ground floor was completely, filled with people who were socialising and chatting amongst themselves, and the tourists are up on the first floor there. But it wasn't crowded for us. We got got to see everything and got a really close-up view of it, and it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And I would certainly go back again in a heartbeat. In fact, I'd go back to Turkey in a heartbeat. So, a shameless plug for a holiday destination. All right, so this is going to be a shameless plug also for Anatolian puzzles, because this is so good. So I've talked about the quality, we've talked about why I bought it. Now let's have a look at the image itself. Well, it is a multi-layered image, not just of the Hagia Sophia, which does dominate the picture, this main dome and the subsequent domes here and the minarets, but these other domes down the bottom form part of the smaller buildings around it. Some tombs of some of the sultans and things like that. I think that's what they are. But some of the outbuildings that come with a mosque, the schools, the market buildings and things like that. Lots and lots of other things around here, but they're totally dominated by this one major structure. There are two enormous minarets. There's a very large dome with a gold-top spire on it. There's a flag of the Turkish Republic. Many other domes. There's this window here which is brightly lit as if from inside. There's layers of other buildings with windows, arches, trees. We're looking through little passageways into other parts behind. Smaller domed buildings. All the way down to this edge here, perhaps the edge of the water at Sultan Ahmet, leading up to the Hagia Sophia. It is a stylized representation of all of those things. It's been compacted this way and foreshortened so that there's a whole lot of things just packed into a smaller space that might be spread out, a bit spread out in real life. And that's how it is with the other puzzles in this series. The Galata one, for example, has the Galata Tower as the central monument, and that area of Istanbul across the Golden Horn sort of piled in around it. It's a graphic design. A few people that I have shown this to have said, oh, is that AI produced? And I thought, well, I don't really want to support AI produced puzzles. I don't. I want to support artists who create images that can be used in puzzles. And so I had a Google of it and found Yasin Yaman's name on the puzzle, and then went and had a look at him, and he's a real person who does real artworks as a graphic designer, and you can actually buy posters of the not just the puzzle images that he's used, but all sorts of other things that he produces. So this is not an AI produced image at all, and I'm pleased about that. Okay, so how did I tackle a puzzle like this? Well, edges out first. It's what I always do, and I did do that. I figured to myself, well, if we have a look at the edge closely, all of this, so most of it from about here right around to about there is plain blue. There are a couple of clouds on the edge here, but it's all blue. From here down, you get little bits of the side of the minarets and the buildings as you go down. You get some shrubbery, some trees, and then you move into this, just a few pieces on each side of trees and the shoreline, and then the whole bottom has little fragments, is all blue, but has little fragments of the shoreline included in it. So this part here is not difficult to put together, so about half of it, and the top half is a bit more difficult, but not impossible. As you'll see from the time lapse, I did do that early on and just fiddled around with the pieces. Tried to put pairs of pieces together, then put the pairs of pieces together to get groups of 4, and so on to build it all up. There is a grading of colour across the blue. It's much blacker in this corner, in the upper left corner, than in the upper right corner. And there are gradients slightly lighter down here and getting darker as you go up the picture. After that, I went for the easy things. Firstly, the Turkish flag stands out really easily. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces involved there, so not very much of the 1,000 pieces at all. So I've got that. I did the window in the middle here, and the minarets seem to be able to be done fairly early on, and that's because they are long and slender, and the sides of the minaret crosses over the edges, the join between the pieces, which means that you can look for all the pieces with a straight line and blue on one side and something on the other side. So I managed to get that one, and then these two smaller ones fairly quickly. Once I'd done that, I thought as I was going through after I did the full flip, I got a sense that the domes would be next, and that's what I did. There are, I think, about 26 domes on it, all different sizes. There are tiny little ones, and then there's this really big one up here, and 1, 2, 3 moderate sized ones here, and then some intermediate ones here. Oh, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4 bigger ones, and then some next size down and down and down until you get to some quite small domes. So I went through and picked out as many of the dome pieces as I could, and they all have a grid pattern showing the tiles or the roofing on them. I don't know if it's tiles, it's probably metal of some sort. Anyway, there's lines in a grid pattern on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the domes. So I could pull all of those out, and I just sat here piecing bits of dome together. Some of them were easier than others. Then I noticed 1, 2, 3 of the domes had this very steel grey edging to it. So I went looking for those to see if I could create the whole dome. And then, of course, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 gold spires, either on minarets or domes. So I went and looked for all the spires and put those in. So once I had all of that in place, then I thought, well, what's next? Because it's not really obvious. There's a lot of similar colours and not many patches of a lot of one thing. So I thought, what's the next most obvious thing that I could find without getting bogged down in tiny details? I really didn't want to go to the windows next, because there are so many varieties of windows, different sizes and shapes, but there are so many of them that I thought that I just don't want to do windows as the next thing. I noticed that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 big arches, 10 big arches on the puzzle. So I went and looked for everything that had a large arch shape to it, and just pulled all of those out regardless of which one it belonged to, got as many as I could out, and then just started piecing those together. And after a while, I was just doing it all down here in the bottom half of the puzzle, and I thought, I'm getting to the point where this is crowded and I need to start piecing things into the right place so that they can start to connect together. And lo and behold, bit by bit, it came together. I did the edge of the land down here, the shoreline, because it's a different texture to the rest of it. Some of the trees, I could pull out tree parts and put some of those together. There are slight variations in colour. There's some slightly orangish red bits here, or pinky red bits here, and up here. There's this dark, deep red section around these arches here. There's little flashes of red around the bottom of this dome here. Then there are different shaped windows. And so on and on I went, just chipping away at the buildings. And slowly but slowly, it came together. It was a little bit challenging, I found, but not hopelessly difficult. I wasn't really struggling, where do I find this one piece? Because once I had some particularly the domes in place, there were only a certain number of places a particular texture or colour actually could be. Some of these browns here, this window here, or this arch with what looks like a grid in a window of some sort, quite brown here, turned out to be the only place where that particular texture is. Some of the windows down the bottom here have seemed very pastel and faded. So you could sort of tell, you got a sense of the different variations in the shades of brown and the browny reds that are across the puzzle. And, it just started to come together. So I knew that I was going to end up with doing the sky last. I simply knew it. I made my way around the edge, built up all of these bits, looked for all the sky with sky plus something, sky plus buildings, sky plus trees, sky plus minarets, sky plus anything, and just made the edge of it so that it all connected in, put everything in place, and then it just started piecing all the bits together so that eventually I made my way down from the top of the dome and filled in the puzzle right to the bottom. That left me with the sky. At that point, I could tell that the shiny surface of the puzzle, I was hampering my ability to see the back end of the puzzle really clearly and just to see the variations in tone of the blue. So I thought that I would just simply turn it around and work at it upside down. And you'll see that in the time lapse at the last segment of the time lapse where I'm doing the sky. The whole thing is upside down, and because that's how I did it. And it made it so much easier just to get the bulk of the puzzle away, and a lot easier, frankly, on my back with the leaning over to get this in. The sky is graded from quite light to quite dark. From the dome in the centre, it's almost as if this glows outwards. So I worked my way, got all the lightest blue pieces and made the formation here. There's a cloud here and a smaller one here, so I got all the cloud pieces, put those in. That was not hard. And then there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 birds. I picked out all the pieces with the birds on them and just put the halves together. Most of them were only on 2 pieces. There's one here that had a bit of the bird on 3 pieces, but the rest of them, oh no, it was on 3, but the rest of them on 2 pieces, so I managed to get pairs of birds, and then I matched them up with the birds on the image and put them in approximately the right spot so that I at least had some of the darker part of the sky together. Then I did a lot of shape sorting to get this out. I pulled out all the unusual shapes, not the regular puzzle shape, the 2 in, 2 out pieces I left in my sorting trays, and the rest of them I put out here, and just looked for those bits where some of the special ones would fit, and got those, as many of those in as I could, and then just chipped away at putting 2 pieces together, 3 pieces together, and just trying to create little sections that I could then drop in and break this up. This did take longer than this. I think the sky took proportionally longer than particularly the section down the bottom, which is a bit challenging. However, I got there in the end. I could tell too, the way that the puzzle was cut, there were 2 different types of regular puzzle piece. There were ones which were wider, and ones which were thinner, and ones which were wider. So I'll grab 2 here just to so you can see, if I can show you what I mean. There were some where proportionally the arms of the piece were kind of narrow and stuck out further. Some of them were quite wide arms, so thick that way, and didn't stick out very far. So they were, I knew that these ones, the thicker ones, only went horizontally. And I knew that these ones only went vertically. I didn't know which way up, but I managed to sort the trays into what I felt were the thicker ones and the thinner ones, to then narrow down which pieces might go into which spot. I worked it almost like a checkerboard. I picked up the thicker ones first and went around the missing spaces to find the place where they all went, and ended up just with a whole lot of gaps to fill in at the end. It was an effective way of doing it. I've not quite done it that way before, but this puzzle, it was obvious, it was more obvious which direction a piece would go, even if it was just all a solid colour. So now let's turn the puzzle around. Hey presto, it was done. I really enjoyed this puzzle. I've had an offer of purchasing it already, and I have politely declined. This one's a keeper. I really enjoyed it. I will probably do it again. Love architecture. I'm an architecture fan, a history fan, fan of the Byzantine Empire, so this one, ticks all my boxes. All right, so we are going to have a time lapse. So if you'd like to click like and subscribe, and then perhaps share your thoughts in the comments below. Do appreciate hearing from people, and sometimes the comments people make are really, really helpful. So looking forward to hearing comments on Anatolian puzzles, on Ayasofia, on any other puzzles that are like this. So on with the time lapse, and thank you for watching.